There's one major Star Trek series we've been neglecting, isn't there?
The auxiliary warp drive controls can only be operated manually.
Okay, make that 2 series we've been neglecting, but we'll get animated another time. But right now, we're gonna slingshot around the sun and go even further into the past for a visit with the crew of the Enterprise NX-01.
We're going to stumble, make mistakes, I'm sure more than a few before we find our footing.
I know. It's been a long road getting from there to here, but here we finally are. Time to look at Star Trek Enterprise and the Season 1 episode, Shuttlepod One. We've got to get some faith up in here. Faith of the... Welcome back to SYFY WIRE's Warp Factor Classic Blend. Engage!
It's been a long road getting from there to here.
Prepare for a mission briefing full of faith. Faith of the... This episode first aired in 2002, but if you haven't seen it, then it's new to you. All crew to spoiler stations, but because 2002, yellow alert! Here's hoping you like Malcolm Reed and Trip Tucker, because this episode is all about them. The armory officer and chief engineer survey an asteroid field in Shuttlepod One, and they debate the values of Ulysses versus those ridiculous science fiction novels.
I'll have you know that Superman was laced with metaphor.
Before they find the wreckage of a ship that they believe to be the Enterprise. Is it? Is the Enterprise destroyed? The Enterprise is fine. One of their launch bay doors was just damaged and they just, left it there.
Who's in charge of engineering while Trip's away?
Lieutenant Hess.
Tell her to get a team working on a new starboard door for Launch Bay 2.
Archer and T'Pol are on their way to rendezvous with Shuttlepod One, and they've got polarized hull plating. So do I, though nobody asked. Tucker and Reed believe the ship is gone, and both their air and patience is limited. Reed starts making farewell log entries, which Trip thinks is pessimistic. They have some food and discover a bottle of bourbon that Captain Archer left in the shuttle. Reed records more logs, all of them to ex-girlfriends, and this prevents Trip from getting any sleep. Reed then wakes up in the Enterprise sickbay, where T'Pol tells him he's brave and goes to kiss him.
I got the receiver working, but the transmitter's a lost cause. Who's Stinky?
Yeah, it's a dream. He's still on the shuttle, which is losing air pressure following an accident. Trip and Reed plug some leaks with leftover mashed potatoes, like you do. They only have 2 days of air left now, and they're all out of potatoes. They bond over a woman named Ruby before Trip buys them a little more air time by shutting down the heaters. They'd rather be cold than dead. Me too. Reed continues to prep for death anyway, shaving as an officer should, but Trip points out that hair and nails grow after you're dead. They continue to argue, so Trip breaks out that bourbon. They light a candle, toast the Enterprise, and Reed reveals that he actually does care. It's just hard for him to get close to people. I relate. Soon enough, they're both drunk and huddled together for warmth. The universe isn't gonna get any of their bourbon. Ha ha! Reed celebrates T'Pol's bum, his words, before they get a transmission from the Enterprise. It's not gone! They don't have enough air left to be rescued in time, however. Bad news. No mashed potatoes. Reed blows their impulse engines to signal the Enterprise that they are in distress, but that means they're just adrift now. They'd have enough air if there was just one person in the shuttle, so Trip makes ready to sacrifice himself. Reed stops him, however, at phaser point, and they argue. Again. Reed then wakes up in sickbay, for real this time, where Archer tells him that the plan of blowing their impulse drive worked. They were rescued with a few hours of air to spare. Reed knows this is no dream because T'Pol shows zero romantic interest in him and just tells him to sleep well. Oh. She ain't never gonna show romantic interest for him. For the other one, maybe.
Look at his eyes uncovered!
Does Shuttlepod One have plenty of secrets and references hidden within? Is Row, Row, Row Your Boat a song with hidden depths?
Merrily, 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 merrily. Come on, Spock. Why didn't you jump in?
I was trying to comprehend the meaning of the words.
Life is not a dream. A big yes and maybe? This episode is obviously an intimate affair, with most of the drama focused on Dominic Keating's Malcolm Reed and Connor Trinneer's Trip Tucker. It's a bottle episode. It has no guest stars or background actors, and of the main cast, only 6 are seen. Mayweather is only heard. You don't even see the bridge. It's one episode, you don't even see the bridge of the Enterprise at all. The episode was co-written by Brandon Braga and Rick Berman, and Berman later said that the episode could almost be done on stage as a play. Braga joked that Keating and Trinneer may have indeed taken the show on the road. I'd watch it. Depends on the ticket prices, but I would watch it. Keating loved filming this episode, saying that as an acting experience, it was second to none. During filming, Berman revealed that he'd had Keating's photo on his desk for 2 years after his unsuccessful audition for Star Trek Voyager. Keating told him that could have called, tell him that. Actors love to hear that. This is Keating's favorite episode, and Berman once said that of all the shows he'd ever produced, this was the one he's proudest of. Braga was a fan of it as well, saying that this one really captured the spirit of the show best.
You knew Ruby?
Ruby, the woman who Reed and Tucker bond over in this episode, would eventually be seen in a flashback in the Season 2 Enterprise episode, First Flight. Reed's lust for T'Pol is pretty much dropped after this episode. Trip is completely indifferent towards her here, but that would change. Trip and T'Pol would become romantically entangled in seasons 3 and 4. Reed, as far as I know, is not involved in their romance. It's never revealed who Captain Archer intended to give the bourbon to, but a likely guess would be somebody involved in the diplomatic mission seen 2 episodes prior to this one in Shadows of the Gem. Thinking about that episode makes me think of my favorite Enterprise character who isn't even in the main cast, and he's not in Shuttlepod One. Of course, I'm talking about Shran, played by Trek veteran and genius incarnate Jeffrey Combs. They would have put him in the main cast if the show had returned for Season 5, True Story. Their faith ran out, however. If you ask me, and you haven't, despite the fact that this episode is a great showcase for Trip and Reed with optimism and pessimism seriously going at it, what if it was a 2-parter? What if at the end the shuttle was rescued by Shran, and then the follow-up episode featured not only Trip and Reed continuing to go at it, but Shran in the mix as well? 3 at a time. There's no reason to do that. This episode is perfectly self-contained. I just always want more Shran. Who doesn't? I should have done a Shran episode. It's too late now. Shran. Does that help?
Earl Grey never fails.
Earl Grey never fails. And Shuttlepod One doesn't fail to bring the classic quotes. Though I'm a fan of the declaration to the universe about how it's not going to get the bourbon, the exchange of the episode that hits me right where I live is the following.
Who the hell do you think you are? You're an armory officer, and perhaps your friends. Friends don't shoot each other.
Too true. Friends do not shoot each other, and Earl Grey never fails.
Is that Commander?
Yes.
Isn't there something you're supposed to say to me?
About what?
Will the events of this episode have any influence on the future of Trek? Well, Star Trek Discovery has made a lot of established Enterprise continuity difficult, but they've now shifted off into the far future. The one place where the events of Enterprise would fit in quite well, however, is within the upcoming Star Trek Strange New Worlds. That show likely won't revisit the notion of plugging holes in your shuttle with food, but you never know. I revisit it. It's interesting to ponder because... Crusher Watch! Nope, wrong show. Come on.
Hailing frequencies open.
Our hailing frequencies are now open. Be sure to share your thoughts on Shuttlepod One, Enterprise, bottle episodes, T'Pol, Trip, read, and whether a good armory officer should die clean shaven. One regular viewer asks, are you keeping up with Lower Decks? I did not see your review for episodes 2 and 3. We're probably not going to cover it any more than we already have, here, at least on this show. I watch it every week, however, and I very much enjoy it. Another viewer writes, Warp Factor reminds me of Wubba Lubba Dub Dub. Gotcha. This whole thing translates to you as, I am in great pain, please help me.
That's just Rick's stupid nonsense catchphrase.
It's not nonsense at all. In my people's tongue, it means, I am in great pain, please help me.
Yeah, I get the reference. Accurate. Great pain or not, you know what? I've got strength of the soul. No one's gonna bend or break me. I can reach any star. I've got faith. I've got faith. Faith of the